What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Wednesday NFL Draft Eve? It is, and we're talking smoke and fire that the Titans are throwing out there about the potential drafting of a tackle or a wide receiver in this 2024 NFL Draft, and a lot to get to as Sam was at the press conference yesterday at St. Thomas Sports Park between Chad Brinker, president of football operations, giving a statement, and then GM Rand Carthon and head coach Brian Callahan giving their thoughts and answering questions from the Titans media about what is coming up with this next 3 days of NFL Draft Mania. And we will have you guys covered wall to wall, all across all of our platforms, social media, beyond shows, live shows, reaction articles, posts, reels, everything that we're going to have coming up over the next several days. And we're going to get it going here with smoke or fire. That's the game we're going to play this morning between Sam and I and you guys in the chat. We've also got an update report from Diana Russini of The Athletic this morning that involves the Tennessee Titans. We'll lead off with that before playing our smoke or fire game. And then our other game that we do every Wednesday to wrap up the show, sports trivia. We'll see how we can do in this one. Been a little shaky the last couple of weeks. They're trying to head into draft weekend with a strong trivia performance between all of us. So, Sam, welcome in. Let's get this thing rolling.
Hey, let's do it. Good show today. Like you said, we're a day away from draft day. We will one more sleep until NFL draft day. Exciting time. A lot to talk about. News continuing to pour out as well regarding the Titans. And it is #lying season. So that's why we got to have this conversation today. Figure out, hey, what smoke? Where is there fire? And what do we make of all this for tomorrow? It's going to be fun. Before we get into it, share the show before we go. If you're watching on Facebook, hit that share button in the bottom right. If you're watching on YouTube, take the YouTube link, send it around, share it around that way, whether that's a group chat, a Titans fan friend, a football fan friend, somebody who maybe doesn't know football and you want to get them into football. Introduce them to A to Z Sports by sending them today's show. Share the show before we go. Like the show. We've got a lot of like goals, as always, coming through throughout this week. So make sure you hit that like button, and let's kick it off here on a Wednesday morning.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter at A2ZSports.com, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8-ish Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline, and also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. You can get better with your health coverage by getting a quote with Farm Bureau Health Plans, and use our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations across the mid-state there in Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro, online at KrebsKubota.com. So, Sam, busy show yesterday. We went about almost a full hour and a half with our tri-stream between us two and Zach. Did we accomplish anything? I don't know, because Zach's out here on Twitter still trying to fight his fight about our conversation yesterday. But it was a really good show, I think, between the three of us yesterday. And I want to go out there and go ahead and promote what we have coming up on Thursday night and Friday night of the NFL Draft. And that is live stream coverage during the first day and the second day of the NFL Draft. And Sam, you're a big part of that with another tri-stream. But this is Sam, Jack Gentry, and our friend Lucas Panzica over at 104.5 The Zone. We'll have our Titan Draft live Thursday and Friday nights, streaming right here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch channels that we always stream on. Shout out sponsors, Prince's Hot Chicken, the original hot chicken in their Tanger Outlets Nashville location. They've got an interesting giveaway coming up that you guys can take advantage of this Saturday. And it's almost that time for Holiday World Splash and Safari for your summer fun for the whole family. To check them out, holidayworld.com. So, Sam, I'm very excited for you guys to run the show without me this draft weekend. I've got some family business to attend to on Thursday and Friday night, but you guys are going to have a killer show. Lucas is phenomenal to go along with what you and Jack have with all this Titans draft talk. So pumped about this. You guys will be live Thursday and Friday nights. Quick thoughts on what you're looking forward to on these live streams.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun. It's a great time. Kind of the live reactions as the picks come out. We're probably going to start going live right as the commissioner is at the podium and the draft is going live. So we will be able to react to picks along with Titans fans. Every pick that happens really after those first two has a significant impact on the Titans and what's going to happen with them at 7. So it'll be a fun couple of hours. And then depending on how the show goes, I'm going to have to manage my time here because I might have to head over to St. Thomas Sports Park and stick a microphone in Rand Carthon's face and figure out what the Titans were doing. So it'll be a lot of fun. Lucas is fantastic, like you said. And I think last year, you, me, and Jack could have gone for 5 hours and had a 5-hour show talking about everything. A lot of differences in opinion, but, usually a show that the chat shows out for and is very active and excited about. So I'm looking forward to it, looking forward to driving that thing and making sure that we all enjoy draft night. Austin, I don't know if you have thoughts on this because I've gone back and forth. Do we do the draft spoilers again? I feel like we almost have to.
I mean, it depends on, I think the good thing with the draft spoilers is that when the Titans are picking at 7 and then again at 38 in those particular nights, you're early on in the broadcast where the broadcast is on schedule. Once you get later in the rounds and later in the draft, the broadcast falls behind the actual draft, right? And that's where when Tajay Spears is the pick at 82 or whatever it was, Tajay Spears gets drafted, but the broadcast is still talking about 78, 79 pick, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where 7 and 38, less likely to have that off time between the broadcast and the actual draft itself.
The thing for me is Adam Schefter's going to have it anyway. Adam Schefter's going to drop that ball while the Titans are, because there's this whole period where they're on the clock and then it shows pick is in and we're sitting there with the pick in and the commissioner's not coming out and syncing up the streams of that I'm watching and Lucas is watching and Jack is watching might be a little difficult.
Yep.
And let me be honest here. I think the chat's going to spoil it. The chat's going to come in with the name. So I might just have to be on Adam Schefter notification watch and spoil the picks as they come in so that we can react to them.
And Bimo says, cool to see how much A to Z has grown over the years that Austin and Zach can have other solid staff run the draft live show. Yeah, absolutely. And so here's the other thing to that comment. Like, I'm not on it. Zach's not on it. So I don't give a damn if you guys are spoiling the picks or not. Neither does Zach. No, you obviously want it to be a good product for the audience to enjoy. But yes.
Here's the thought. I may just anoint myself as draft commissioner. And if I'm looking at the list of Adam Schefter tweets, I may be able to announce the picks. So those of you at home watching who may not want the spoiler effect of not having the name read, right? I think that's a really important I don't know. I always enjoyed watching the draft as a fan, right? When I was, just watching the draft, rooting for the Bears to take whoever. And there is something to the fact that the commissioner comes up and does the Chicago Bears select, and you're like rooting for a name and being like, please don't say the first name that I think you're about to say, and rooting for someone. I think that's fun. And I don't like that has gotten taken away from fans through the whole spoiler period. So maybe I can announce picks in that way. Titans fans can still have their moment of being on the edge of their seat, waiting for the name to be announced. But our draft show is also getting the news in as quickly as possible to react. And I can provide those updates as well for Jack and Lucas to then fire off their quick reactions.
For sure.
How do we feel about that, chat? Let's get.
Look, I think we've got time to figure that out, as that is tomorrow night.
It is tomorrow.
Once again, tomorrow night, streaming live, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Our Titan Draft live Thursday and Friday night. Sam, Jack, and Lucas Panzika, our buddy from 104.5 The Zone. Shout out to our sponsors, Princess Hot Chicken and Holiday World Splash and Safari. Sam, we do have business to attend to today, and we'll get the update from Diana Russini and the big topic, smoke or fire, with what the Titans are saying yesterday at the pre-draft press conference. And King VC comes in, lock in, like the show, hashtag draft week with a super chat. Obviously, we're trying to get to 215 likes per platform per day this week. So King VC says we got more work to do. So if you haven't liked the show, please do that, because King VC is going to give us $100 on Monday if we can accomplish this goal. Zachary says, whatever King VC donates, I'll match it dollar for dollar. So there goes Zachary Smith jumping on board here. So, Zachary's going to have to put his money where his mouth is on that. But Sam, let's discuss the updated report from Diana Russini this morning on The Athletic and what she is hearing, and a bunch of different rumblings ahead of the NFL draft on draft eve this Wednesday. And in her Titans section, she labeled the Titans the "it depends" Titans, and writes on theathletic.com, after spending heavily in free agency and addressing many needs, the one position not addressed by the Titans this offseason was offensive tackle. Look for them to not get cute and take their tackle at number 7. If the player they want isn't there, Joe Alt, I wouldn't be surprised the Titans go wide receiver, understanding that both new coach Brian Callahan wants to score points. The Titans fell in love with Marvin Harrison Jr. during the combine interview, but the chances he's there at 7 are slim. Keep in mind, President of Football Operations Chad Brinker, who has seen his involvement increase this offseason, comes from the Packers front office, and that franchise hasn't gone wide receiver in the first round since 2002. So I'm going to ask you, Sam, your thoughts and comments about what Diana Russini said there. But first, I want to tell everybody about our great friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans. FBHP.com/ATOZ is where you should get a quote to increase and improve your health coverage and save money at the same time, because that's what Farm Bureau Health Plans can do. They have tripled down on their investment in their community across the entire state of Tennessee. In these 75 plus years, they have been helping Tennesseans across the state with their health coverage. Farm Bureau Health Plans will make sure to find the right coverage for you at the right rate, help you save money, get better coverage, whether it's not having to pay out of pocket for your contacts or your dentist visits, whatever it might be. Farm Bureau Health Plans has you covered, and it's so easy to get a quote and get that process started. You can go see them, 200 plus locations across the entire state, or just get started by using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Sign up with the bonus code ATOZ Sports and get up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet into your account. If your first bet misses, that's a first bet offer with the bonus code ATOZ Sports. Place that bet, whether it's Major League Baseball, the NFL Draft, NBA or NHL playoffs. Shout out to the Nashville Predators for picking up a win last night, evening that series at 1. Place your bets with BetMGM. Bonus code ATOZ Sports up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet with the king of sportsbooks.
All right, so we'll go through the Diana Russini report and your thoughts on that. Jay on YouTube does says Diana doesn't have Carthon connections, and then adds that Vrabel was Diana's PR leak. And while, yes, Mike Vrabel and Diana Russini had that relationship between media and coach, that doesn't mean that Diana Russini couldn't be working and adding Rand Carthon connections or other Titans insider connections throughout. There is one person that I know is also a Diana Russini source that is still employed by the Tennessee Titans organization that could be the dots connecting these reports. But Sam, she said a lot in theathletic.com this morning, again, that the Titans not likely to be too cute and could draft tackle at 7 overall. But if their guy isn't there, that wide receiver is the option. They fell in love with MHJ. Probably not going to be there at 7. And then Chad Brinker was a part of the Packers organization that has not drafted a wide receiver in the first round since 2002. So, Sam, what are your thoughts on Diana's report this morning?
Overall, I don't know if I put much of anything into it or on it. Like, I don't know. Austin, pull that up one more time for me real quick. The idea at the beginning here, look for them to not get cute and take their tackle at number 7. If the player they want isn't there, I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans go wide receiver. I don't feel like that's any information we don't already know. I mean,
Sure.
there is a reason that in the sports books, Joe Alt is minus money, minus 120 or minus 125, something like that, to
Right.
go to the Titans. I mean, this checks out. Taking a tackle is the most logical thing. Uh, and I've said, and this was our conversation yesterday, right? How I would take Malik Neighbors over Joe Alt. That's my opinion on the matter. Zach disagreed, but I think we all agree that that's probably not a choice the Titans are going to have to make. It is most likely to be one or the other is available for them at 7. Now, if you are a Titans fan, which one you root for to be available at 7 might change depending on who you want. But I don't necessarily see a world that's all that realistic where both Alt and Neighbors have not gone when the Titans are on the clock at 7. So, therefore, this checks out. They probably take their tackle, and if their tackle Joe Alt is gone, they probably take or would not be surprised if they take a wide receiver like Malik Neighbors. I don't put a ton in that. The Titans falling in love with Harrison, also something that checks out. Was not that hard to see that by the way that Brian Callahan has talked about Marvin Harrison, even at the combine. When Brian Callahan spoke, he just raved about how good Marvin Harrison was and admitted then that the chances of him being on the board when the Titans pick are just not all that likely. So I'm not sure this does anything for me one way or another as far as like insight into the draft. Plus, this information's out there. Why is this information out there is a question that we have to ask.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever there's a report coming from something, who is trying to gain leverage in this report being out there? And I think that's definitely something to look at. But I mean, and Daniel says, Sam laughing at Russini reporting the obvious. No, it's not laughing at the obvious, but I think her value in the NFL media is her connections. And so when she puts out a report with a bunch of different NFL teams, it's not just the Tennessee Titans that she is reporting on, trying to scroll back.
It does. I mean, Austin, it does slightly irk me a little bit when this kind of stuff happens in NFL draft season, though.
Yeah, but I also think you have to remember, Diana Russini's audience is not our super in-depth Titans audience. Her audience is the entire NFL. So
Understood.
when she has a report that's national that involves the Eagles trying to move up for a corner, the Vikings are eyeing Drake May, the Broncos need to love a quarterback, the Titans could go wide receiver, and Michael Penix Jr. stock is up, plus the Texans and more. There's a lot of ground being covered in this report. And so while the Titans not getting too cute going Joe Alt or going wide receiver if Joe Alt's not there is obvious to us, it's not for everybody who's not been covering and talking about the Titans draft for the last 3 months every day. And so I think the value in it is confirming that the Titans love Marvin Harrison Jr., okay, and that maybe they're not trying to get too cute because we've been having this back and forth for months about wide receiver or tackle, and the fact is it could be a lot more simple than we're making it. So I think it's just a piece of the puzzle for what Diane is reporting this morning.
Sure. I tend, as a Titans reporter, get irritated by there are things out there that are now national storylines, national headlines, things that start to get traction that are things that myself or any other Titans reporter has been saying or could have told you a while ago. I feel like this has been the logical place for the Titans all along. Is offensive tackle makes the most sense, but if the right guy is not there, they might love a wide receiver. That's a possibility too. That's been the story I've been singing since the NFL Combine, right? So what makes this newsworthy, I guess, would be my question, or what makes this like something that we didn't already know or assume?
No, I don't think it does. I think it's just it's the night before or the day before the draft, NFL draft eve, and there's notes. I think the fact that it falls within everything else, and nationally, Mel Kiper Jr. is like, oh, all 4 mocks, Joe Alt. We're dying to saying yeah, it could be that, but the Titans could very much take a wide receiver right here. So I think it's a little bit of push and pull on the national scope of what this draft looks like and what people are thinking about the Titans. They've had the worst left tackle in the world the last 2 years, and maybe they take a wide receiver, I think is the national outlook on that. So let's hear from Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan. They addressed Titans media yesterday at St. Thomas Sports Park, and they were asked about the overall tackle and wide receiver depth in this draft class.
I mean, just from my point of view, it's a bunch of good players. You know, there's it's probably more offensive linemen than there's been in past classes. I mean, this feels deep in terms of the talent that's available. And the same thing with the receivers. I think the receiver classes are pretty similar these days, where you're going to have a handful of high-end talent that's probably going to go in the higher parts of the rounds, and there's going to be some depth in the class that's got a lot of different options for what you're looking for in a receiver. So that part's been it's been consistent, I think, with previous years, but you're always going to find depth in the receiver classes. I think overall, there's always going to be good players available, and then this, I think, is a pretty strong offensive line class. I think we'll see where it all shakes out, but evaluation-wise, there's some really good players there.
Yeah, I see the same. We were looking at the numbers yesterday. The numbers are pretty consistent. The O-line is a little deeper for us, in particular. And I think a lot of it has to do with what you're doing schematically and how these different players fit into your scheme. There was a time where college offenses were pro-style offenses, and then it kind of went more spread, and you're starting to see a little bit more of the pro concepts coming back. So you have a little bit more guys that fit, right into what you want to do. So, I think both positions are deep.
So we knew this, right? We knew both positions are deep. You went to the Senior Bowl, which started in the last couple of days of January. Here we are, April 24th, knowing that this offensive line group is super deep. We got the talent and the high-end talent wide receiver. So let's also hear, because I think Teron Davenport is the one who followed up to Callahan about the offensive lines specific and the ability to potentially find a day one starter in the offensive line beyond the first round. So here was Teron with that questioning to Callahan after the fact.
So what's your thoughts on the depth there? Are you guys comfortable in that, hey, you could find a starter outside of the first round?
Oh, sure. I think Rand said it already. You can find starters, I think in every round of the draft. Depends on the position, obviously. There's going to be starters that come out of, I would say, most of these rounds of the draft at the line position. Sometimes you can't project it. You don't know that that's what's going to happen, but I think there's enough good players the odds are in the favor that there's going to be some guys that can play that aren't getting picked in the top 25 picks. There's some depth to the class, and there's some good players that aren't going to go in the first round that'll probably play meaningful football for a lot of teams.
There you go. Yeah. There it is right there. I mean, that's kind of the conversation we had yesterday about the depth of this offensive line class and how the Titans' perception of the depth could impact their choice on Thursday night with number 7.
Right. So, Sam, let's play our game. Smoke or fire? I think this is going to be pretty interesting. So, smoke or fire? The Titans saying they think they can find a starter beyond the first round of the draft on the offensive line. Is that smoke or fire? Smoke meaning it's they're playing deceitful games, right? Or fire meaning, yeah, they're legit about that, and they think they can find a day one start on the O-line after the first round, potentially at 38th overall. So smoke or fire, Titans think they can find a starting offensive lineman after the first round of the draft. We'll get to everybody's comments right here. I'll put up a YouTube poll, but Sam, tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute.
The Bone and Joint Institute is the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust, and you don't want to fumble on your recovery. Go to the Bone and Joint Institute. They're located out in Franklin with a state-of-the-art rehab facility to help you, and everything is all under one roof. Rehab, clinic, imaging, surgery, testing, it's all there. No more driving everywhere in Middle Tennessee to go to your different appointments. The one-stop shop is the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin. Schedule your appointment with them at boneandjointtn.org.
All right, and you can always win big with our great friends at BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. It is Stanley Cup playoff season. They have the bet and get token out there for all existing users across the state of Tennessee to make a Stanley Cup playoff wager and automatically get a bonus bet right there because you do that. So the bet and get token for the NHL playoffs all summer long. Preds get a big win last night. That's huge. But also, if you haven't signed up with BetMGM yet, you can do that with our bonus code ATOZ Sports and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that first bet misses. So make sure you take advantage of the best first bet offer out there with BetMGM using our code ATOZ Sports. Go big with that first bet, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. If your first bet misses, visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only, new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification and eligible requirements. First online room when it was your only. Rewards issued and eligible bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for public game of sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. I'm putting the YouTube poll out there now. But a little smoke or fire game. The Titans saying they think they can find a starting tackle beyond the first round of this NFL draft. Is that smoke or is that fire? Sam, I will send you to the chat.
Terrence Taylor says fire. Dalton says fire. John says fire. Scott says smoke. Eric putting a little bit of fire. Major Key saying smoke. Andre says, well, where there's smoke, there's fire, which is a saying, but for the purpose of this game, maybe doesn't make the most sense. I don't know. David says fire. Billy says smoke. Ashley says smoke. JR says smoke. Titans Kyle says fire. Dalton, Steven, Luman, Connor, Trevor, Ocho, Steve, Vibe coming with a long run of fire. Or Terry ends it with smoke. Rooney's on smoke. Darius, Mono, Daniel, Rashid, Jabu, top tier, volunteer. A whole lot of fire coming down. It keeps going, Austin. The chat says this right here is fire. And let me go ahead and start it off and say, I agree. I think there is absolutely fire right here. I think this is something the Titans believe. I think they've been very straight up about this the entire draft process. And I think it's probably very true in their analysis. Go ahead and play the first video again, but I want everybody to listen. I think the most important words come out of the mouth of the Titans general manager, Ran Carthon.
All right, so the first video, Brian Callahan starts. This is about the overall depth of both the offensive line and wide receiver positions in the draft. Callahan first, then GM Ran Carthon.
I mean, just from my point of view, it's a bunch of good players. You know, there's it's probably more offensive linemen than there's been in past classes. I mean, this feels deep in terms of the talent that's available. And the same thing with the receivers. I think the receiver classes are pretty similar these days, where you're going to have a handful of high-end talent that's probably going to go in the higher parts of the rounds, and there's going to be some depth in the class that's got a lot of different options for what you're looking for in a receiver. So that part's been it's been consistent, I think, with previous years, but you're always going to find depth in the receiver classes. I think overall, there's always going to be good players available. And then this, I think, is a pretty strong offensive line class. I think we'll see where it all shakes out, but evaluation-wise, there's some really good players there.
Yeah, I see the same. We were looking at the numbers yesterday. The numbers are pretty consistent. The O-line is a little deeper for us, in particular. And I think a lot of it has to do with what you're doing schematically and how these different players fit into your scheme. There was a time where college offenses were pro-style offenses, and then it kind of went more spread, and you're starting to see a little bit more of the pro concepts coming back. So you have a little bit more guys that fit, right into what you want to do. So, I think both positions are deep.
I think, though, that sentiment from Ran Carthon is the most important thing of that clip, and potentially the most important thing of the entire press conference yesterday, Austin.
Really?
The fact that the offensive line, this is not, hey, it's a deep class, right? It's not, hey, this is a deep class, because those are generalizations that can be made about offensive line, wide receiver, different position groups all the time. He says the offensive line is deeper than usual for us in particular. For us, the Tennessee Titans, and how we are assessing and grading these players, we have this being a very deep group. Now, which is then followed up later on by them saying multiple guys in later rounds that can be starters, and Ran refers to the schematics of it all. the style of offense that you're running, a pro style offense, which I think checks out for what the Titans, maybe a little bit of spread, but a lot of pro style is what they ran in Cincinnati. Used a good bit of play action, a lot of under center offense for their quarterbacks that they were very successful in. So that offense, how they analyze and how they've evaluated players to fit into that offense. And reminder that Brian Callahan's opening press conference, he talked about things like, well, I don't know if protection is always on the players. Like, I think you can scheme protection. And so I think the Titans have a very calculated plan right now for the type of offense they want to run and the style of offensive lineman that is adequate for that system. And I'm not sure. I think they'd be thrilled to get a Joe Alt at 7 overall and really help execute that system. But I think they have a lot of flexibility with the talents. And I think they have guys, some of these blue players labeled on their board outside of the first round, where they're able to look at somebody and say, that's a guy who's going to start right away in our offense, but he's only being valued at a 5th round pick.
Yeah, so you just brought blue player, and what you asked Rand about that yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Blue player. And I did see this comment. Denise brought this up within his answer of the blue player question from you, that Rand did say you watch LSU on TV, right? And in that answer, and like that, we were talking yesterday, you think he was kind of bringing up Keon Coleman when mentioning LSU.
I don't know if it was necessarily Keon Coleman or like I think the generalization that I got from that, and I would have to go back and look at it again. But, my idea of when he brought up LSU was, you hear this all the time with draft prospects, is like, woo, go watch so-and-so's tape against LSU. Oh, man, go watch his performance against Oregon in the Pac-12 title game, right? That'll show you the tape that makes you go, wow. Rand Carthon's idea of a blue player is somebody that you don't have to say, hey, go watch Utah, go watch Oregon, and then go watch the game that they had against Fresno State in week 2. It's the idea of you put on any bit of this guy's tape and he's going to pop. He's going to stick out as being there's an NFL talent, and he's going to be somebody that can play immediately. That's kind of how he defines it. And I do think there are players, and I used Keon Coleman in my example to you, Austin, because I think Keon Coleman personally is one of those guys who you can take little bits and pieces of Coleman's season, and he looks like an excellent wide receiver.
Yeah.
But I think Keon Coleman's a project in the NFL, and he's somebody who has far too many inconsistencies to be a plug-and-play impact guy. That doesn't mean he can't be a really good NFL player if he gets in the right situation and develops appropriately. But I think that's a guy who, for example, would not be labeled as a blue player by the Titans.
Yeah, Keon Coleman is a SportsCenter top 10 level playmaker. But what does he do on the other 90% of the snaps he plays? And what is his consistency there outside of the ridiculous catch he makes with one hand jumping over a cornerback, and bringing it down the sideline and getting 2 feet in, right? Like Keon Coleman can do that, but what's the other aspect you're getting? So just to kind of reset here, we're asking everybody, smoke or fire with the Tennessee Titans saying that they think they can find a starting tackle beyond the first round of this NFL draft. Sam, you said fire. You think there's a lot of truth to it, not just throwing smoke out there for the rest of the draft. I tend to agree. And I looked up on our YouTube poll, which, by the way, we need way more likes. King VC's trying to go out there and do our work for us. The likes are low today. The viewers are where they usually are, but you guys are sleeping on that like button. But the YouTube poll shows 75% of people so far say that this is fire. And that is an overwhelming percentage of this. And this is not just about yesterday's press conference on the Tuesday of draft week. This is just about every time I think Rand Carthon has talked to the media, whether he wasn't at the Senior Bowl, right? But whether it was the hiring of Brian Callahan press conference, at the NFL Combine, at post-free agency press conferences throughout the month of March, and then again yesterday of depth, O-line depth, this class depth. And I think you nailed it with the sentence that he said yesterday of the O-line class is deeper for us in particular. And why does that mean for us in particular? Obviously, the Titans board is going to be different than and unique to every other board in the NFL. But I think for us in particular means more of like, yeah, we think that we can get by maybe with a lower ceiling prospect because of the scheme they want to play and the O-line coach that they have to be able to get by with less at the offensive line position than what maybe the Mike Vrabel play action pass, long developing routes, play concepts needed. Like the Tennessee Titans, and I can't remember the exact stat, but the Tennessee Titans were near the tops of the NFL in average depth per target in the league. And they had saloon doors at left tackle and saloon doors at right tackle, and they're trying to push the ball down the field with slow developing routes. And it burned them with a bunch of quarterbacks getting sprained ankles. And so now I don't think the Titans are going to be near the top 5 of average depth per target because I think they're going to play a different game. Getting the ball out quick, winning early, throwing early, like I said yesterday, which is why I think there's absolute fire to this. They think they can find an offensive line starter at 38th overall. I don't know about 106, but definitely at 38.
But it could be as deep as 106. I mean, there are recent
That's where
examples.
I think everything kind of is like it's a wild card. Once you get to 106, it's there's so much.
It's about
it's about
traits that you're evaluating for a scheme, and
right.
We see this happen all the time in the NFL. There are guys who are taken in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round of the draft that are immediately really, really, really good for their team because they are drafted somewhere where they fit the scheme, their skill set kind of perfectly matches. And like, I love this example because it's one of the coolest videos, I think, for a football fan to go out there and watch. It's the behind the scenes mic'd up video of Sean McVay and the Rams drafting Puka Nacua and their analysis of Puka Nacua. And Puka Nacua is a guy who didn't test off the charts, who was coming from BYU and didn't play the best competition. There's a lot of question marks, and he had injury issues. And it was hard to see how Puka Nacua was going to be a star wide receiver as a rookie. Sean McVay, in his analysis of him, said, well, I need a guy who can do this and who can do that. He doesn't need to be perfect. If he can do this and he can do that, he'll fit in my offense and what we're trying to do. This is a guy who can do both of those things, and I don't really care if he runs a 4.4 because he can do those things. And so while every other team saw Puka Nacua and said, I don't 5th round, 6th round grade, Sean McVay saw a guy that fit perfectly into his offense and then exploded as a rookie. And you have a guy like Bill Callahan who has this level of experience. And I hate bringing up the Bears on the show. I do have in-depth knowledge of the Bears, similar to I do the Titans. But the Bears general manager, Ryan Poles, is like a 37-year-old former offensive lineman himself who prides himself on offensive line evaluation and development. And he came into the job, and Bears fans were in a similar spot to Titans fans right now, where they said, hey, you need a left tackle. You have to protect Justin Fields. They drafted one named Braxton Jones, and I want to say the 5th, maybe even 6th round of the draft. Braxton Jones has been the Bears starting left tackle ever since and has turned into a really, really solid left tackle for them. They never had to use a 1st round pick on him because a guy who knew offensive line knew what he was looking for in the particular offensive scheme they were running. They found a guy with those traits, and it's worked. And so the hope that I have, I'm not saying the Titans should wait until the 5th round to go and get their starting left tackle. But if you can grab one at 38 and then maybe even grab a potential right tackle or a swing tackle in the later rounds of the draft, I think that's a huge win for the Titans and a good way of looking at their evaluation of why, for them in particular, as Rand said, this might be a deeper group than usual.
Yeah, and now Tristan brings up says Sam, the Bears just picked up
right
Darnell
tackle.
Wright. Yeah, right tackle. But you're talking about left tackle, but like
yeah.
And every year is different, right? And last year at 10th overall, The Bears felt that their biggest need / best player available combination was Darnell Wright to be the right tackle at 10th overall. And has it worked out? Like, do you like the trajectory that Darnell Wright's on? I mean, he's not perfect, but
he was healthy. He played some good rushers last year. He had a lot of rookie blunders, but I think overall you were relatively happy with where he was at and kind of positive towards where he'll be in year 2.
All right. So I think we've overwhelmingly, everybody has said fire. There is fire where this offensive line conversation has. Just to update the YouTube poll, had some more smoke comments come in. I'm about to end this poll because I'm going to start another one. So officially 70% of the YouTube poll was fire, that the Titans think that they can draft a tackle later than the first round who can be a starter for them. So not smoke on that one, but more fire than smoke there. So let's get to the second level of this conversation, and we'll play again the thoughts on the Titans and their wide receiver class. So we're going to focus here on Brian Callahan's comment about this wide receiver group in this video. We've played it a couple times, but now we're going to turn our focus and prioritize the comments about the wide receiver from yesterday. Here's the Titans head coach.
Just from my point of view, it's a bunch of good players. There's it's probably more offensive linemen than there's been in past classes. This feels deep in terms of the talent that's available. And the same thing with the receivers. I think the receiver classes are pretty similar these days, where you're going to have a handful of high-end talent that's probably going to go in the higher parts of the rounds, and there's going to be some depth in the class that's got a lot of different options for what you're looking for in a receiver. So that part's been it's been consistent, I think, with previous years, but you're always going to find depth in the receiver classes. I think overall there's always going to be good players available. And then this, I think, is a pretty strong offensive line class. I think we'll see where it all shakes out, but evaluation-wise, there's some really good players there.
Yeah, I see the same. We were looking at the numbers yesterday.
Continues about the offensive line. So the question we're going to ask right here is that, Brian Callahan said it, there's high talent up top and then depth at the position and players you can like and find. And as I think summarize it, role players at the wide receiver position once you get beyond the first round prospect. So here's our next smoke or fire game. Titans are talking up the 3 high-level superstar prospects at wide receiver versus the rest of the role players at the position later on in the draft. Is that smoke or fire? So the Titans talking up the high-level wide receiver talent versus the role player wide receiver talent later. Smoke or fire on that one. I will do another YouTube poll here in a minute, but first going to tell everybody about Krebs Kubota. That is where you should turn for all of your equipment needs. KrebsKubota.com is their website. They are an elite Kubota dealer across the mid-state, meaning they have the best equipment in the industry to go along with the best warranties in the industry, and their customer service is top-notch because they will make sure that you get the right equipment for the right situation, the right price. If you don't need to buy it and renting is better for you, then Krebs Kubota will let you rent that equipment for whatever that project is, or they will help you out there with financing, with use, with customer service, with the warranties. If something needs to be serviced on, they've got you, or repaired, because Krebs Kubota, an 18-plus year-old company, family-owned and operated, started in Columbia and now has grown to adding stores in Franklin and in Murfreesboro as well. An elite Kubota dealer with those 3 locations: Columbia, Franklin, Murfreesboro. Online, KrebsKubota.com.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and BetMGM.com. Get up to $1,500 back into your account in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet misses. If you listened to me last week, your bet did not miss. My no-runs first inning play did, in fact, hit that I gave. I'll have another one of those on Friday, but for now, directing attention towards maybe some NFL draft props, maybe some NBA or NHL playoffs. It's a decent time to get in with a sports book. So BetMGM, BetMGM.com. the king of sports books. And then while you guys are doing that, make sure, once again, we are liking the show this morning. King VZ said fire for the first question of the day, said there was over 300 people watching on YouTube and less than 100 had liked the show. We are now just over 100 likes on Facebook. I don't know where we're at on YouTube, Austin, but
I'm checking YouTube now.
We need more. We need
Yes.
more. We need to make a little bit more of a push toward King VZ's goal. So a reminder to do that this morning before we head into our answers for this question.
YouTube's at 127.
Okay, so YouTube's still beating Facebook a little bit. Facebook maybe needs to pick it up to catch up to YouTube. Ask the question: smoke or fire? Wide receivers in the draft versus role players later. Dalton's fire. Steven is fire. So is Volunteer. So is Trevor. So is John. All smoke once again, says JR. He's not buying anything this time of the year. Andre, Darius, Derek, Cameron, Titans, Kyle are fire. Rooney says smoke. Ashley says fire. Ashley said smoke last time, so she's converted to fire for this one. Fire for Eric and Luman and Steve and William. Grim Jim is on smoke. Wrights is fire. Patrick is fire. Carpet King is fire. Corey, Billy, Jody. Dalton says, well, there's a significant drop after those three, so it is fire. Tighten Up says it's fire. Lot of fire. David Dandy says smoke. Looking for other smoke answers here. Daniel says smoke. They want to trade up with someone for a top 3 wide receiver, which maybe somebody trades up for Rome potentially. Michaels comes back in with smoke. So, Austin, this smoke or fire? Are you back in the fire campaign for this one?
I think this one's less clear. I'm gonna side with smoke on this because I think the Tennessee Titans, like you brought up the Sean McVay example with Puka Nacua, of how Sean McVay viewed Puka Nacua as the right puzzle piece when a lot of the league viewed him as a limited prospect. I think the Titans can look at wide receivers with this new coaching staff and this new philosophy of finding the right puzzle piece rather than the limited player. And we had the whole conversation yesterday about Neighbors or all if both are available. I answered Neighbors because I truly think Neighbors is the best football player. If you're putting up against each other, Neighbors, Alt, Odunze, I go Neighbors number 1 in that order. But I think right now, I believe the Titans could find and do a lot with the wide receiver depth, especially because of what they have with Hopkins and Ridley on the roster for at least this year. So I'm going to say it's not like all smoke, but I think it's a little bit more smoke of like, yeah, you have to be very specific with what you're getting after the first round at the position where the depth isn't as strong at the position. It's just more specific needs and fit at the wide receiver position rather than O-line overall. So I think it's more smoke than fire, but it's not as clear as our first question that was outright fire all the way.
I think this is fire again. I agree with your assessment, but I think like that's also just what the Titans genuinely believe and are kind of saying here. The high-end talent is the high-end talent in Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze. After that and into the middle to later rounds of the draft, there are players who are probably not franchise-altering, offense-changing wide receivers, but they are players who do have skill sets that could potentially benefit a team if that is the one skill set you are looking for. I think that's interesting about the conversations that we've had on this show about some of those second-round wide receivers. Like we talk Ricky Pearsall, right? And I view him kind of as a limited prospect because I don't love the play strength. I don't love his ability to win contested catches or handle press coverage. Austin, you see a guy who can run really efficient, strong routes and a guy who's got enough explosive speed to, be a playmaker who gets open, right? Yeah. So maybe if you're an organization, you're not looking for a complete, number one wide receiver, but looking for a guy who can run some routes and fill a role, right? Ricky Pearsall can be a productive player in your offense. A guy like Keon Coleman might be somebody who, has a limited route tree, but has the ability to take the top off a defense and win for you deep. And if that's what your offense is missing, now there's a player who has a role for you. I think that's kind of how the Titans view the wide receiver depth. And the question that we still don't have answered and won't until tomorrow night is, are the Titans okay with a role player that fits into a specific cog in the wheel, or do they want to take a swing at a high-end wide receiver talent? How essential is grabbing a young, high-end prospect to partner with Will Levis for years to come? We don't have the answer to that question for the Titans yet, but I do think that this is ultimately how they view this group. So I will say it's fire.
Yeah. Okay. Look, and that I think that's fair. Like in the poll is showing similar results where fire is at 57%, smoke is at 43%. Way closer than 70% fire, 30% smoke.
That's interesting because I felt like the comments were more skewed towards fire this time, but hey.
And look, obviously that we can only do polls on YouTube, which I wish Facebook was easier to maneuver.
Get with the times, Facebook.
I know,
come on, Zuck.
Like if Zuckerberg's out there worrying about his drip more than he is about his.
Is that a real picture, by the way? I saw a rumor that was like photoshopped or like AI or something. Mark Zuckerberg turned into
at this point
Studio data real quick.
You never know. If anything is real or fake at this point. So who the hell knows? I don't know. But I wish Facebook was able to do polls so we can get a true gauge of the audience. But look, I like the second round group of wide receivers more than you do. That's fine. I think that's I like the idea of Fashanu and Latham in the early teens, maybe more than you do as well. You would rather maybe take Odunze at 7 more than trade back to get, I don't know. I don't know if we've been that specific.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on that. That's a hard one that I have. Like, I have a hard time putting that into like a bucket because it really depends what the trade back is. I mean, if you're able to get like one of the, like you go back to 11 or go back to 14 or something like that, 12, and you're able to get another second rounder in there, I would probably prefer that to like Rome Odunze at 7, just because I think that's really good value, a chance to grab 3 players in the first 2 rounds with the spot that the Titans
50 picks. Right?
Yeah, like with the spot the Titans are in, if you come away with 3 top 50 picks, I mean, that's really an opportunity. But like, if you're talking about, hey, we're going to move back and we'll get into the 3rd with that trade, I probably would just like Rome Odunze more than that. So it all kind of depends on the value you're getting in the trade.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I did favorite this comment before we get to our trivia segment. Jeff says, Austin, did you see the second contract hit rate tweet I tagged you in? Yeah, so Jeff is the one who put me on that from Adam Schefter and Himbo's from ESPN's data earlier this morning. Like I have my own, I quote tweeted it, Jeff, the Schefter tweet itself with my thoughts on it. And to kind of quickly go into that, not give too much time on it. And I think, Sam, you and I are in the same boat. Zach's going to go fight his fight on Twitter this morning, so you can go read that thread to entertain yourself. But I think the fact that they went from the year 2000 to 2019 is irrelevant. I don't think what happened in the draft era of quarterbacks sitting for their rookie years, running backs being the belle of the ball, and wide receivers not breaking out until their 3rd year is irrelevant for 2024, is irrelevant for the last 4 to 5 years, because the NFL's changed a bunch. The college football game has changed maybe even more than the NFL has changed over that time. And so I think data from 2000 to maybe 2012-ish is irrelevant for this draft. I also think that only judging hit or miss by only a second contract with a team that you were drafted by is dumb, because that would mean in this data, Sam, and you're on my side with this, DeForest Buckner's a miss, because DeForest Buckner was traded by the Niners and given a second contract by the Colts. So
Yep.
that is why it's stupid. And if A.J. Brown was a first-round pick, he would
He's a
be
miss.
considered a miss
Yeah.
in this chart. So the chart is dumb. Look, the math might be accurate and correct, but I just don't think it's the correct sample size to base anything off of. So that's where I say, like, wide receivers in 2000 to 2010 are irrelevant compared to how we're judging the wide receiver position that is coming out of college right now.
Correct. And that was the reason why I brought up some of the stats that I brought up on our debate yesterday. Because when you look at the recent history of the NFL draft, it would actually suggest the opposite, which is the fact that the wide receivers taken towards the top of the first round consistently have hit. Probably the 5 that have gone since 2020 would be guys that you would figure are in line to get second contracts with the team that drafted them. The offensive tackles have been a lot of misses. I just think the way that the NFL has evolved, kind of as Rand Carthon even laid out there, and just like scheme of your offensive style, with some teams going to spread and now moving back to pro style, like they found ways to evaluate wide receivers a little bit more effectively. And I think the way that we evaluate offensive linemen has changed, where you are able to find more starting caliber tackles in the mid to late rounds. And there is, more of a premium on certain positions like wide receiver. There's a reason that wide receivers are getting paid more. Like, the league has just adapted and changed so much. And so I really, any sort of draft history that kind of expands beyond 2017, but really like 2019 for me. Like, I have to look at the last 5 years. It's a what have you done for me lately league, and it changes so much. But if you think about like where the state of the NFL was in 2017, like, it's just such a different sport now.
Even the quarterbacks. So let me just add the quarterbacks in here. In the first 12 years or 13 years of that data, quarterbacks were not as highly drafted as they are now. Just look at the 2021 class. There's one guy who would be considered a hit because Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields are all misses. Kenny Pickett the next year, miss, right? And like, you go back, Baker Mayfield, miss. Josh Rosen, miss. Who else is in that? Sam Darnold, miss, right? Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, hits. But like Baker Mayfield, was he a miss? It doesn't, it's a weird situation, right? Like, you can't, my whole thought is, you can't judge the success of a draft pick only by if that player got a second contract by the team that drafted him. Because again, the example that I go to a lot was Jack Conklin. Jack Conklin was a great draft pick for the Tennessee Titans. They did not pick up his 5th-year option because he was coming off of an ACL and he had a concussion issue too. So the timing of that did not make it make sense. They did not sign him to a second contract because of the injury issues and because they just made Taylor Lewan the highest paid left tackle in NFL history, which was the correct decision at the time. And they didn't feel like they could go pay Jack Conklin $20 million in his first 2 years of the deal on top of Lewan. So they let him walk, and the Browns did it. So that's that. And Daniel brings up L'Jarius Sneed as a miss. He's a 4th-round pick, but yes, players get traded, players get moved before their second contract. It's not the right way to judge a hit or a miss draft pick by a second contract. Just not.
Real quick, had something to address as well. Daniel had asked me, Sam, would you trade back with the Eagles or Packers in the 20s to add 2 second-round timeout?
Let's do this tomorrow because we're doing our live mock tomorrow on the show.
Okay.
So we can address this.
All right. That's fine. I don't know if this will come up in our live mock, but
I mean, you never know. It might, because what if we're sitting there at 7, we can talk through a bunch of different trade aspects and figure out what we think is worth it.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll save it for tomorrow.
Diana also said the Eagles are looking to trade up for a corner. And the Falcons maybe could take a corner at 8. They could flirt that smoke out there. And maybe Quinyon Mitchell or Terron Arnold is where the Eagles want to go. And they want to make sure they get their guy. And 7 could be it. So, there's a chance that we can, talk about that potential trade back. Remember, I had a dream, Daniel. My draft dream this month Last year it was the Titans drafted Will Levis. This year my draft dream was the Titans traded back to the 20s. I don't know with who or for what, but that was my draft dream. So maybe Daniel's onto something on that.
Yeah.
But all right,
Let's get to trivia.
Yeah, we're already an hour into this thing. So it is now time for our Wednesday sports trivia. Shout out Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying experience and process. Save money on that ride by going to Lebanon, seeing our guy Payne Bone, and check them out at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Sam, are you ready for trivia?
Let's do it.
All right. It is now trivia time. We've got 9 questions. We have 2 rules. 1, no Googling, no Googling. The second rule is the chat gets to pick the second category now because we have deemed that NFL will be our leadoff category, and I have our second category locked in. So
yeah, Big Ten Jeff always firing off snacks and candy when it's not always on our board.
It is not, but Corey is the winner of I'm sorry, Jeff. He corrected himself, so he's got it anyway.
He came back.
Yeah, he came back correct. So Jeff wins the second category. But NFL, let's get rolling.
NFL, Star Lotulelei, Kelvin Benjamin, and Shaq Thompson were all first-round picks taken by this NFC team during the 2010s.
Man, what a draft! Can you name the colleges that all 3 of those players went to?
No. Kelvin Benjamin went to Florida State.
Yep.
I'm not sure I know the other 2. Off the top
Star
of my head.
Lotulelei, Utah. Shaq Thompson, Washington. Boom.
Okay. Yeah, well, this is Carolina. Chat's already on it. So they were all drafted by the Carolina Panthers. So there we go. 1 for 1. And we're going to Big Ten Jets beverages. Adding Origin cherry flavors to its classic form, what brand of soda released a limited time LeBron's mix in 2015?
Oh, God. What?
Orange and cherry flavors.
Oh, I think Alex is correct on this, and others are all over it. It's Sprite. LeBron's a Sprite guy.
I don't know. I don't remember orange or cherry Sprite, but I do know that LeBron is a Sprite. Like I've seen the ads of LeBron with Sprite before, so I think that checks out.
Wouldn't cherry Sprite basically be cherry limeade from Sonic?
I have not had that beverage.
You haven't had cherry limeade?
Cherry limeade? No.
From Sonic? God,
No.
This must be a Tennessee thing and not a Chicago thing.
We have
Cherry
Sonic.
limeade.
We have Sonic. I just don't go.
You have Sonic, but cherry limeade, guys, like Williamson County high schoolers just flood to Sonics. That is the social spot. And I don't know. I guess it's not in Chicago. But
I mean, we have Sonics. It's just not like,
it's not a thing. It is absolutely a thing because all the bros with their trucks get to blare their music and the pull up, and you get to go hang out at Sonic after high school football games or a random Tuesday, Wednesday night, whatever the hell.
Bro, we would go to like, where would we go after? I mean, like local Mexican place, go to Portillo's.
But the trick was the dropping the alcohol in the big ass Route 44 Sonic cup because yes. All right, so we move on. Let's go to
Eric says Chicago barely even has Dr. Pepper. Yeah, but we have RC Cola, so take that.
RC Cola that would be a Dr. Thunder, right? Anyway, all right, let's go to let's go to books.
Books. One of the Bronte sisters, this English novelist is most known for her 1847 novel Wuthering Heights, initially published under the name Ellis Bell. So this is going to be somebody Bronte. So we could technically like hack it and put Bronte into the search bar. I see Emily from Steve and Anne.
And Roderick and Jay.
Yeah.
So I guess, and Matt. So I'm guessing we're going to go with, her, Emily Bronte. Sounds great to me.
Pops up. So there we go. Boom.
I don't know why you're in all caps, but that's fine.
That's all
right, let's go tic-tac-toe with a little television.
Tic-tac-toe television. Nina Dobrev was the lead of this CW supernatural teen drama from 2009 to 2015, but departed the main cast before its final 2 seasons. Okay, I do know this one.
I have no idea. I did not watch any CW or any supernatural teen drama. I will make a guess. I will make a guess
show,
though.
but
Is this what's like the Superman CW show?
that's not it.
Not it?
No.
Okay.
It is Vampire
Smallville,
Diaries.
right? Is that what the show I'm thinking of? Smallville.
I have no idea.
Smallville.
No idea.
I think that's what I'm thinking of, but it's not it.
Elizabeth was first. This is the Vampire Diaries, and
Okay.
Eric said Pretty Little Vampire Diaries, which I don't know if that's a joke or a mix-up with Pretty Little Liars, but not a show title.
Close. Vampire Diaries.
The Vampire Diaries. There it is.
So I was thinking of Smallville. Never seen it, but apparently it was a thing. Okay. Let's
You know,
go
there's
with.
I think there's a character in Smallville named Sam Phelan.
Really?
Yeah, pretty sure. I think
I'll look it up.
Before.
Let's go to movies.
All right, movies. A box office hit, Brad Pitt, Eric Bana, and Orlando Bloom starred in this 2004 epic war film based loosely on Homer's The Iliad. I think I know this one as well.
I'm looking at Smallville characters.
Chat's on it already. It's a one-word answer. Austin, do you know this one?
Yes, Troy.
Troy, Nate's Burner, Matt, Demetrius, and all of them on it early. This is a great movie from Brad Pitt. I love this was kind of like Brad Pitt's prime here. These early 2000s Brad Pitt movies were awesome. That is the right answer.
Just to go back to Smallville.
Yeah.
There's not a character named Sam Phelan that I see. Sorry.
I don't know. You might be wrong.
Well, I don't know.
Let's see. Did you look up? Yeah, no, here we go. It's not spelled the same way. It's Phelan, but Smallville Wiki has, see if we can. There we go. Smallville Wiki, Sam Phelan right there. This is him.
Okay. Well, then I'm wrong. Okay. So moving.
I knew I'd seen that somewhere. So
moving forward, let's go Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball. Okay, here we go. I got to get. All right. Known for wearing a helmet while fielding, this 2-time All-Star first baseman played from 1989 to 2005, winning a batting title with Toronto in 93 and batted .354 for the Mets in 1998.
I mean, this can only be one man.
I've got this one. I don't think you've got this one.
You don't think I do?
Go ahead and who do you think?
John Olerud.
Okay. I thought you were going to think this was Delgado because this is like the Delgado career path.
Again, like I don't know anything baseball beyond like 2008 or 9, but I absolutely know all about John Olerud.
John Olerud is the right answer there. Yeah, well, it's the Delgado career path, so it can be like potentially confusing, but it seems like the chat not fooled whatsoever.
I do know Carlos Delgado because that dude was would just hit bombs. All right, let's go music. Oh, her eyes make the stars look like they're not shining. Her hair falls perfectly without her trying are the opening lyrics to what 2010 Bruno Mars song. This is a great song. Just the way you God.
are.
You didn't have to do that.
I had to. Come on.
No, you didn't. You didn't have to.
And when you smile. Good one, man.
Oh, yes.
There it is. Boom.
Right.
We're 7 for 7.
All right, we're going to go college basketball, and we're going to end with celebrity mashup.
College basketball. Before becoming a superstar in the NBA, Damian Lillard played at this Big Sky School from 2008 to 2012. He put this school on the map. The only reason most people have heard of this school is because of Damian Lillard.
I have a guess.
All right.
But I don't think it's right.
Fire it.
Is it Weber State?
It is Weber State.
Okay, so I was correct.
Yep. I believe it's
Weber.
Weber. I believe it's
Weber.
Weber State. Yeah, but Weber
It's like
State.
Sam Mackay Becton, not Mekhi.
Yeah, I did get clowned for that. I actually showed up. Funny, I showed up at the Titans facility yesterday for the press conference, and I walked in the front door, and my guy Teron Davenport goes, "What's up, man? Hey, Mackay Becton, bro." And I'm like, yeah.
Somebody,
I did see
somebody tweeted me, was like, "Why didn't you correct Sam?" And I was like, I thought about it, but then I was like, you know what? This has been a long show. I'm just gonna keep on rolling.
Yeah, I don't know. That was one that I think that was just like one of those ones that's always been in my head for as Mekhi Becton for whatever reason. Like, and I've never had a reason to like actually say it correctly. I don't really say his name ever, so it just kind of like existed there. But yeah, I will be conscious about Mackay Becton moving on.
Still a free agent, could be a future Titan.
Sure.
All
well,
right.
maybe. We'll see.
Celebrity mashup to wrap us up.
Oh
dear God.
All right.
Well,
I've got both of them. It's a tough look, but I do have both of them.
Oh, that's got to be Tim the Tool Man right there in the center.
Yeah, that is who that is.
The outside's kind of throwing me for a loop because I'm way too distracted by Tim Allen's face.
I agree with Matt. I think Matt's on it. This was my guess as well. I think this is Tim Allen and Reese Witherspoon. That looks like a Reese Witherspoon part of the hair right here.
Yep,
looks like the Reese Witherspoon forehead a little bit to me.
I just watched a Reese Witherspoon movie.
What age Reese Witherspoon movie though? Because this I think is like
2000.
almost present day Reese Witherspoon here in this picture.
Yeah. I think Tim Allen, Reese Witherspoon seems correct. And
I don't think this is Paltrow.
No.
I don't know why. It just doesn't give off. I think Paltrow has like a bit of a skinnier face.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with Tim Allen and Reese Witherspoon.
If we're wrong, because I do think it's Witherspoon, this is maybe not the worst.
I agree. That could be it too. But I think the hair color is wrong for Scarlett Johansson.
I would agree. I mean, she's done everything though. All right. Well, let's just go with Reese and see where we're at afterwards.
Tim Allen, Reese Witherspoon.
Tim Allen, Reese Witherspoon, and boom. Oh, look at that. 11-11. 11-11 and a perfect 9 for 9. How about that?
Beautiful.
Bang, bang.
I like the way that that went. By the way, tomorrow night and Friday night, streaming live on these same channels, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, our Titan Draft Live with Sam, Jack, and our buddy Lucas Panzica from 104.5 The Zone. We'll join them for the tri-stream of the Titans picks at 7 overall, or what happens with a potential trade, and also Friday night for round 2 and potentially round 3. And shout out to Princess Hot Chicken and their location at the Tanger Outlets. It has something going on this Saturday and maybe some giveaways you can be a part of this Saturday at Princess Hot Chicken at the Tanger Outlets. And back again for another summer is Holiday World and Splash and Safari with their great theme park up just a few hours north of Nashville in Santa Claus, Indiana, for a great family trip. So make sure that you tune in to what Sam, Jack, and our guy Lucas has to say about the draft coming up. It's going to be a phenomenal show. Still working through some of the logistics, and we meet about it this afternoon. So excited to have you guys run the show for me and hand over the keys, Sam. Your show.
I had a great idea. I had a great idea for the show as well while we were sitting here. So it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to fire that off.
I like it. And Lucas asked, is there a show Friday morning? Yes, that will be between Sam and Jack on the show Friday morning, reacting to what happened Thursday night. I did not mean to click on that BMO comment, Sam.
Well, I might have to do it though. You want?
No, well, I control it. And this is going to wrap us up for this Wednesday. We will see you guys tomorrow on a Thursday morning. Sam and I will have a live mock draft on Thursday morning. So we'll see what happens with our mock of the Titans in the first round. Make sure you hit that like button if you want to have Sam shut up and stop singing, and to help King VC get to his goal of 215 likes. Appreciate it. See you guys.